Halbrook from the 107th and founding member of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. We are here tonight because a Chinese company, GOTION High-Tech, wants to build a battery plant here in Manteno. Everyone is for economic growth. However, when you unpack this deal, it's clear that it's a bad deal for Illinois and it's a bad deal for Manteno. GOTION is a company with strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Tonight, my colleagues, some national experts, and I will go through some of the concerns that we have about this project. What I want to address here is why some are so eager to do business with China. The Chinese Communist Party is world-renowned for the history of its human rights violations. According to the U.S. Department of State, some of the abuses include coercive population control through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and involuntary implantation of birth control. The detention of more than 1 million Uyghurs and other minority groups into internment camps. Forced labor into facilities nearby or affiliated with the internment camps. And additionally, the destruction and closure of churches, mosques, and other religious sites, and the prevention of youth from participating in religious activities and forced political indoctrination or re-education. GOTION High-Tech is in line for $7.5 billion of federal tax credits over the next 5 years. And the state is kicking in an additional $536 million in subsidies to build this plant. The company is getting considerable tax breaks to construct a plant that will cost $2 billion to build. The total subsidies for the plant calculate to an astounding $3 million per job created. Why are U.S. taxpayers providing $8 billion in economic incentives for the construction of a plant that costs $2 billion to build? Why is a company with close ties to the Chinese Communist Party receiving more tax incentives than it costs to build this plant? The GOTION deal is a massive all-Democrat deal done behind closed doors. $125 million of the $536 come from Governor Pritzker's deal closing fund, which was legislation approved by the Democrats in January during lame duck session. The deal closing fund requires notification only to the Senate, President, and the Senate or the Speaker of the House, without including minority leaders in the discussion or the decisions. This is a massive deal. Rev credits like EDGE credits are done with DECO and not open to public debate. This is the largest incentive package in business in decades, only exceeded in current dollar value by the Soldier Field expansion. Let's compare the deal closing fund portion, $125 million, to prior year's EDGE credits. In 2021, 223 companies received almost $226 million in EDGE credits. In 2020, 196 companies received almost $189 million in EDGE credits. Governor Pritzker touts Rivian, but their deal was $50 million, 10% of the amount slated for GOTION, and they were an American company. Illinois has lost out on 18 previous battery plants, including the Rivian plant that moved to Georgia recently. The question I have is, what was offered to these American companies and rejected? And if they had been offered $500 million, would they have located here? We need those answers. Additionally, we would like to go into this deal. Why would we go into this deal without proper disclosure requirements? Why would we subsidize this project with U.S. taxpayer dollars without the proper disclosure? Chinese companies are required to make disclosures and share their sensitive information with the Chinese government. What steps have been taken to protect proprietary information and protect our interest in this deal? Again, I've got nothing against jobs. We all want jobs, but blindly going into business with a company with direct ties to China is a risk not worth taking. In closing, Governor Pritzker is doing his level best to make Illinois the Western version of the People's Republic of China. He now has went so far as to give $500 million of our tax money to the Chinese communists. God bless America. God bless Illinois. God bless you, Manteno. And now for some words from Ryan, one of our local residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Manteno. I didn't hear you say it again. Let's go. My name's Ryan McAfee. The reason I'm here today is I believe the American dream will no longer exist if we allow GOTION to reside in Manteno. The CCP has slowly been infiltrating our farmlands and economics for years now, and it needs to be stopped. The American people need to wake up and take our country back. I have served our fine country for almost 19 years now. The American people have sat by and watched everything that transcribe itself. It needs to stop. Big time. I moved to Manteno 2.5 years ago in search of the American dream, and this town is where I found it. I am married with 5 kids and currently took on 2 more kids. So here it is, living in this town. I love it here. Now my feelings are scattered due to this cancer-causing factory moving into our town. I don't want my kids around that. I especially feel bad for all the families that have raised their own children for generations here. The mayor and his cronies have failed our town. They went behind our backs and voted for something we never wanted. The real question is, what are they hiding from us? How much have they lined their own pockets from this deal? If this factory goes through, is it going to poison the air, the groundwater which we drink from, and give people cancer? It has all been proven elsewhere in the world. And in summary, I will fight for our small town. It's the people for whom I swore an oath to. It is in my blood, and it is my honor to do so. I will be running for trustee against all these guys in here.
Hi, my name's Phil Nagel. I was born, raised in Manteno. My mom lives right down the road. My brother lives right over here. Manteno is my home, just like many of you here. After high school, I went into the military, right after 9/11. Do we have any veterans in here? Obviously, we have at least one. Thank you for your service. Now I want to ask you a question. Do any of you guys actually feel represented by the politicians in your district? No. No. Well, you guys can all affect that here in 2024. Just side notes. Now I want to go into the military side of things. Like all you veterans out there, my son will be stepping up and commissioning in 2 days into the United States Army as a 2nd lieutenant. And as such, I expect the politicians to represent and do what's in the best interest of not only Manteno, Illinois, but the United States of America. Right now we have Governor Pritzker, we have Senator Joyce, we have Mayor Nugent, and then we also have Representative Jackie Hoskins, too scared to make a position on this whole debacle, right? We have these folks that we need to get out of office, and I'm sorry if I make this a little political, but it is political, right? It is, right? Elections have consequences. We're told that every single day by the Democrat Party. Elections have consequences. Well, it's time we step up and we change the dynamic of this state and we take back these seats, right? All right, so what can we all do, right? We have literally a CCP-backed company, right? One of America's #1 adversaries in the world. Geopolitical adversary #1 in this world, right? And guess what? The Democrats just gave them a seat in our backyard. 30 miles to the north, 30 miles to the south, there are United States military operations, or military installations nonetheless. We need to stop this before it gets going, and while we are led to believe that the deal is already done, I assure you it is not already done. There are enough moving pieces still that have to play out that we can stop this. But no one, not one person in this audience can do it alone. It takes a group like all of you to step up every day, not just today, tomorrow, the next day. We have to make it so uncomfortable for them to want to set roots in this town that they say, we're done, we're out. And it, again, only happens when every one of you, just like you're here today, comes out and fights every day. This does not end today, it does not end tomorrow, it does not end 2024. If you guys want to call Manteno home and keep it home, then fight for it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Rolniak. I've been a resident of this town for 19 years now. I've raised 3 children here. and I am disgusted at what is going on here. I found out about 5 days before Pritzker came to town about this. Had no idea. Someone had mentioned it to me. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, can't be in our town. Oh, sorry. I was like, what is going on? So I saw an article on Facebook. I decided to look up what GOTION really is. Is this what we want? People to swear their alliance to the CCP before they start their shift at work? You guys realize that?
Nope.
How many of you out there really realize
Watch the
that?
movie. Watch the movie.
Exactly. We don't want that. We want people to walk in and do their job. We have laws that fight against work safety. If you ever watch on Netflix, there's a show called American Factory. Watch it if you haven't seen it, because it's going to show you a lot what's going to happen here.
Yep.
But, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm very nervous.
I get it.
But this goes back to, why is our people that are supposed to be standing up for us in this town, why is it so quiet? Why? Why are they not saying anything? Make me understand why they're not. If this was supposed to be so good, they would be out here and they would be talking about it. They'd be explaining it to us. There'd be balloons hanging all over. Hey, 2,600 jobs. Guess what? When I went on that protest, when Pritzker came in town that Friday, I went up to the front gates. We weren't allowed in. I walked back to my car, and guess what? When I walked past people, I said, please vote no against this. It's not good. Every single person looked at the ground. Why? 20 different people looked at the ground? There's something going on here. So we need to find out. We want answers, and we're going to have to fight for these answers. Where's all this water coming from? They're using millions of gallons of water to keep these batteries cool. Okay? So now, you use that water, now it's toxic. Where does the water go? Where's it going? We don't know, because they don't tell us nothing.
Exactly.
So these are questions that we really want to know. Then, what if there's an explosion?
Yeah.
What happens then? What about the fire department? Are they trained for this?
No.
Exactly. So we're going to put them in harm's way? And let's just say we do get our firemen trained. What about the other towns if we need them to come in? They can't help us. What are they going to do? I mean, these you have to let burn. So I live a half a mile from here, from the plant. And you know what? What am I going to do? Lose my house? Am I going to be evacuated? What fumes am I going to be breathing? It might even be hazardous to breathe every day. I don't know. Because we don't have these answers. Because everything is hush, hush. So I thank everybody for...
School is right there.
Exactly.
Right over the highway, the elementary
Exactly.
school. What is wrong with people?
I don't know.
Speak up.
Corey's right there.
Exactly.
Day class, we're going up.
So we need to find out the answers to this. And I appreciate everybody coming out today. I hope you guys continue to keep fighting with us, okay? God bless the USA. Thank you.
Hey, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Icavella. My reason why I was called here today was on Jeannie Ives' radio show the other day. And can everybody hear me? I think we should turn up the volume a little bit. So I work for a trade association in D.C., and we only represent American manufacturers. So we're really the only people in D.C. advocating for American workers, and as you can imagine, we do a lot on the China issue. And I can tell you, well, first, let me just say, this is a beautiful town that you guys have here. And the fact that so many people came out here tonight and are working on this issue, that's the kind of thing that politicians, not just, down the street in the mayor's office, but in D.C., they need to hear that. They need to hear that there's real residents who care about their town, who care about the future of this country, and they don't want to see a Chinese factory built in their backyard. And a lot of people have said tonight that, GOTION is a Chinese company. And I like to remind people, my previous boss was chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. We received many briefings on China. And I can tell you, the things that you learn, they do not, they're not good things that you hear about China and what they're doing. There's no such thing as a private Chinese company. So let's just get that out of the way. What's happening here is we're taking your tax dollars and we're giving them to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes.
They already subsidize their own companies. And why do they subsidize them? So that they can put American competitors out of business.
Even if they promise to create jobs here now, I promise you, in a few years, they're going to take those jobs away because they've come here, they've stolen all they can, and they're going to ship the jobs back. And we're incredibly naive and stupid for giving them our taxpayer dollars. It should not happen. And part of the reason why this is even a problem is because Democrats in D.C. passed the Inflation Reduction Act against the wishes of the Republicans to put guardrails on preventing your taxpayer dollars from going to China. Our economics team, they did a calculation. $125 billion is set to go to Chinese companies because of the Inflation Reduction Act. $125 billion.
China Joe.
I mean, it's insane.
Let's go, Brandon.
And why do they say we need it? Because of climate change.
Climate change.
And that's what they're going to use this battery factory for. Everyone has to drive an EV, so we need to have a Chinese company to come in. Well, how about we invest that money and we have an American company make the batteries? I mean, since 2001, when we made the worst deal ever and we gave China most favored nation status, we have shipped 3.6 million jobs to China. Wall Street has gotten rich. Big companies have gotten rich. The Chinese have laughed all the way to the bank.
Oh, definitely.
And we have put so many good towns in this country into despair. And now we're offering them a handout to come here and say, build a factory here. This is a CCP company. Bottom line, we should never have American taxpayer dollars going to the Chinese. People say China's a threat. Our intelligence community, there's 17 agencies. These are incredible men and women who serve our country every day. They're not politicians. They will tell you that China is the #1 geopolitical near-peer adversary to the United States. What does that mean? They're building weapons of war to kill us. On our dollar. Thank you, whoever said that. They're exactly right. We're paying for this. It's a shame. And so thank you guys for coming out here today and showing that this is important to you. Because we need a lot more of you. We do. I think, do we have a question? Oh, no, questions at the end. Well, let me just say one last thing. I hope if this is your first time coming out tonight, please come out again. Tell 10 people that this is a problem. Every person needs to hear that you don't want this in your town. You should not have your tax dollars going to a Chinese company. And there's better pathways forward. We need to be supporting American companies, American workers. We should be building stuff in this country and not subsidizing the Chinese because their plan is to put us out of business. And we've been funding that for the past 2 decades, and look what's happened. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Pete Hoekstra, and I'm from the state of Michigan, and I'm here to help. I'm a former congressman. I used to be chair of the House Intelligence Committee, and I was a Trump ambassador to the Netherlands. But more importantly, over the last 7 months, my colleague Joe Sella and I have been fighting Goshen in Michigan. So I want to let you know you're part of a movement. You're not out here alone. We're going to beat Goshen in Michigan. Matter of fact, in 6 weeks, we're going to recall the local officials who voted Goshen into their community. You can never underestimate the power of grassroots. They work for you, you don't work for them. A long time ago, I ran for Congress. I woke up in the middle of the night and I said to my wife, I don't like what's going on in Washington. I think I'm going to run against the incumbent. She said, go back to sleep and you'll feel better in the morning. Well, I didn't feel better in the morning. And I ran a campaign. I was outspent 15, 20 to 1. But I ran it on grassroots. I got on my bicycle and I bicycled around what would end up being my congressional district. And the message was very, very clear. The incumbent had lost touch. And we, the people, said no, and it's time for a change. You can win, all right? This group never underestimates the power that you have. And that is how America is supposed to work. It's great timing. He's putting an exclamation point on the power that you have to direct the future of your community. All right? We can do this. We can do it. From the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, I can tell you, hold up the sign, history lesson number 1. China is our enemy. They are not a competitor. They seek to destroy us and our communities. And don't ever forget it. And you have people who are doing non-disclosure agreements with the Chinese, who are doing business behind closed doors to do what? To destroy you and enhance China.
Traitor!
You can stop it. Lesson number 2. You know, this is, a lot of it's partisan here because of, the governor can do it by himself here in Illinois. In Michigan, you know, we put together, I think you're developing here, a bipartisan coalition or a non-partisan coalition to defeat this. Saving your environment is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's an issue for all of us. And there's a sign back there, and there's a sign right here. Save our community. Putting a 2,600 employee, maybe 2,600 employee, we'll see whatever happens, into your community will change the nature of your community. So from a national security standpoint, an environmental standpoint, a community standpoint, unite, and unite with the folks in Michigan. Okay? We're on different sides a couple of times a year when we play football. All right? But on any other day, unite with us, and we can defeat Goshen. We can save taxpayer dollars, and we can save America for our families and our kids. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, another former Trump ambassador, Joe Sullivan.
Long drive from Michigan, but we wouldn't have missed this. I wanted to just thank a couple of thanks at the outset. So my first engagement with this great community and all the people here happened through wire points and the offices of Ted Gabrowski and Mark Lennon. I was on the way to the Notre Dame football game 3 weeks ago. I called up Mark and I said, listen, we were where you're at now 7 months ago. And I said, we're all in. I said, whatever it takes, we're here to share our playbook, textbook, tactics, strategies for your advantage, and we'll be here with you through the end, whether it's remotely or here, boots on the ground as we are tonight. So also, certainly a big salute to the Illinois Freedom Caucus and the intrepid members of it. So the fight is just beginning here, and certainly the Coalition for a Prosperous America and all your great work, Zach, thank you for that. So it was really inspiring to pull into your beautiful town. I grew up in a small town similar to this, just north of Detroit, and to see your wall of heroes. The banners of heroes flying, that served and sacrificed in unique ways with their families before us and still do. And it was inspiring also to yesterday read the words of Ed Wagner, who I think is a local resident, and it really speaks to the status of things now. He says, they work for us, we don't work for them. That's right. And that really, I think, gets to the core of the matter of what has happened here, and that is that you're here because the consent of the governed has been ruptured. This is what happens when you have a hushed and rushed process. You have binding and punitive NDAs, no checks, no balances, and this is the fallout. This is a beautiful effect. This is a natural result, and we look forward to linking arms with you throughout this. You may have read the article by Rich Miller in the Chicago Sun-Times, where he's swinging for the rafters, describing his take on the status of things. And he says it's not the job of the state, it's the job of the federal government. Well, he needs to, Mr. Miller just needs to understand that our own Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, from the Biden administration, met with mayors. He met with mayors, again, not a partisan issue, bipartisan issue when it comes to national security. But even Antony Blinken says that mayors, supervisors, state legislators play a role in national security to track these very incursions and have an obligation. Our national intelligence agencies met in February of 2022. They summoned a bipartisan group of state and local elected officials saying, look, be aware, China's on the hunt through their private sector. Deals like this are coming down the pike. You have to be transparent, you have to be vigilant, you have to know what's going on, because these are subnational incursions, these are influence operations. What emanates from them, espionage, intellectual property theft, etc., no matter the target. So I am grateful for your perseverance. We're going to be here until the end. The great strides we've made in Michigan, I think, is an exemplar for you to follow. And I know Blaine and his legislative colleagues have already swung at the ball on some good legislation to block foreign incursions, and I know they'll continue to do it, and we're here to support. So, God bless.
Hey, thank you very much. My name is Chris Miller. I'm the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we're here tonight is to give a voice to the voiceless. And I know that you probably feel unrepresented, and we're here to represent you, even though we're from a long ways away. One of the things that we need to recognize as patriot Americans is that for some reason, the fight for freedom never ends. And, you know, we're in a doozy right now. But one of the good news is that we're not descendants of fearful men. And we've had courageous patriots go before us on issues just like this to stand for what's right. And it's time for for y'all to rise up here in Manteno. And because I got a feeling that Manteno's not for sale. About this, the only reason why we're here tonight is because of J.B. Pritzker, Joe Biden, and the Chinese Communist company GOTION that wants to build a toxic battery plant here in Manteno. This will cost $8 billion in tax incentives from our taxpayer. And this is all, now listen to me, this is all to fuel the climate crisis scam.
Yes.
Make no mistake about it, the climate crisis is a complete scam. And we the people need to start standing up against this nonsense. We are not having a climate crisis, but what we are having is a crisis of common sense. And it's time for we the people to stand up and tell the truth to the American people and the citizens of Illinois.
Yes.
All of us standing here tonight are for economic growth, as my colleague Brad Halbrook so eloquently mentioned earlier. But when you unpack this deal, it is clear that this is a bad deal for Illinois, it's a bad deal for the United States, and this is a bad deal for the citizens of Manteno. Is a company with strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Tonight, my colleagues and I will go through some of the concerns we have about this project, as we already have, and will continue to do. But what we want to do is for you to understand some of the things that China, that, as Donald Trump would say, is China, would actually stand for. But the Chinese Communist Party is world-renowned for a history of human rights violation. They have a long history of human rights violations. Their coercive population control through forced abortion, through sterilization, from involuntary implantation of birth control, the detention of over 1 million people in minority groups in internment camps and the forced labor facilities nearby or affiliated with internment camps. The list goes on and on and on when you think about the atrocities that go on in China. And not to mention that they just recently sent a spy balloon over the United States. They probably targeted Manteno where they wanted to be.
Oh, yeah.
But perhaps Manteno will be even a new launch pad for the next one. Who knows? But this is a travesty as we see this unfold. But the bottom line is we have to ask ourselves the question, because they're going to wave intimidation at you, and they're going to wave lots of cash at you. And the question has to remain, is Manteno for sale?
No!
And the bottom line is that every battery from this Chinese communist battery plant goes to feed this false narrative that we have a climate crisis. Every battery that goes out of here will help the Communist Chinese Party conquer the world. We need to know that that's what that's all about. As many of you said, they are not our friend. And they are not our business competitor either. They are our stated enemies. And the third thing this does, it keeps kids in slave labor camps mining toxic rare earth minerals that is so toxic that no landfill in America will take those because they are so dangerous to deal with. And so just keep that in mind. We will not stand for this, and we know that the people of Manteno will not stand for this either. And I want you to know that the Illinois Freedom Caucus has your back. And with that, I want to turn it over to Blaine Willauer.
All right, Brother Chris, thank you. Manteno, how are we doing tonight? All right, are you guys ready for the fight that's coming your way? Because it's coming, guys. And it's so heartening to see all you people out here today. That's commerce, that's industry happening right there. We need more of it right here in Illinois, don't we? But guys, this is how we do it.
That's a cold drink.
This is how we affect change. Regular citizens, regular folks coming out, making their voices heard, standing up to a government that is unaccountable, that has gotten out of control, it has gotten so bad that we're doing deals with the Chinese Communist Party. So thank you guys so much for being out here tonight and making your voices heard. Like Chairman Miller said here, Chairman, I'm State Representative Blaine Willauer. I represent a district about 2.5 hours south of here, and it's my thank you. And it's my pleasure to be here tonight on this important issue here. And I kind of want to take a little bit of time here to address our thin-skinned governor's response to criticism on this project. And, you know, dealing with Governor J.B. Pritzker, like I've had the, I wouldn't say honor to do over the past 4 years, but I've had the task and the duty to do over the past 4 years. When you start getting insults from the governor of this state, you know you're pretty much over the target. And that's what we've been getting. This governor will not answer tough questions. He will not provide transparency. And the news media out here needs to make sure that they're doing their job to make sure that he does that, because we have legitimate questions. Manteno has legitimate questions, am I right? You know, and the governor seems to have a little bit of a limited vocabulary when it comes to responses. And anytime he faces the slightest bit of criticism, what do we hear? We're racist, we're xenophobes, you know, we're everything else. He dismisses, the governor has literally dismissed any questioning on this project. He was quoted recently in a Fox News article as saying that any questions on this project is basically it's unserious, it's political grandstanding, and we're here to tell the governor that our questions are serious and we're not political grandstanders. Is it unserious to ask why taxpayers in the United States and taxpayers in the state of Illinois are giving $8 billion to a Chinese company for a project that costs $2 billion? Governor, hey, guys, is that unserious? Is that an unserious, unreasonable question? I mean, unserious to ask or to inquire of this governor and administration why Illinois is ignoring the warnings of national security experts, including experts in his own, I don't know if they're experts, but people in his own administration. Is that an unserious question?
Why doesn't Illinois know all this?
That's right. I mean, do we consider political grandstanding to want our government to vet a foreign company coming in here and getting tax dollars? And it's not political grandstanding to ask that these companies go through the strictest scrutiny, to go through the Form 800, which is a very invasive form that would vet out a lot of the things that we're wanting to do. But no, we don't do that here in the state of Illinois. The governor doesn't seem to comprehend that the reason that people here in Manteno and other places are upset is not because of the Chinese people, it's because of the Chinese government, all right? There's a big difference. I mean, if we're xenophobic towards the Chinese people for raising questions about this project, then is he not also xenophobic for 2 years ago signing into law legislation to divest Illinois investments from companies tied to Russia? I mean, it works the same way. He can't have it both ways. And not only is Illinois divesting from Russia, which I support, but we've also divested. This state has a history of divesting from all kinds of companies. We've divested from Iran. We've divested from Sudan. We've even divested from companies that don't support the woke ideology that this governor and administration espouses. So we're not asking him to do anything out of the ordinary. But here's the deal. This deal was done behind closed doors, and to our knowledge today, and the governor refuses to answer any questions about this. There was no disclosures, and we've apparently just handed over literally $500 million in Illinois tax incentives to a company with ties to the CCP with little or no expectations on our end. I mean, who does this kind of stuff? It's the people that do this kind of stuff are the people that are desperate for a win. Not desperate to do what's right, but desperate for a political win. We would demand a heck of a lot more from a U.S. company getting these kind of investments. So why aren't we demanding more from a company with ties to hostile governments? I would tell the governor that instead of hurling nonsense insults, let's just provide a little bit of transparency and answer to some legitimate questions. Here's the deal. Goshen High-Tech's corporate bylaws, they literally require loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party, guys. It's written in there. Article 9 of its Articles of Association demands that Goshen set up a party organization and carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the Communist Party of China. The company shall ensure necessary conditions for carrying out party activities. Is that the kind of corporate partner that we want, that we need in Manteno, in the state of Illinois? My colleagues have done a great job of outlining some of the human rights abuses of China and everything else. And to call China a bad actor is definitely an understatement. And, this is an issue that I've been passionate about in the legislature. But because of China's numerous human rights violations and threats to our national security, I actually introduced legislation last spring, House Bill 2984, to ban the use of public funds and investments or institutions tied to the Chinese Communist Party or the People's Republic of China. Now, this piece of legislation actually did get through committee, but it faced a very strange death on the floor of the House. But guys, it's time to wake up, and it's time that politicians in this state and around this country put the principles and the best interest of our country ahead of radical ideology. And that's what's driving this. Chris Miller was exactly right about this. This isn't driven from an economic perspective. It's driven by a radical ideology. Doing business with the CCP is basically like doing business with the Unabomber.
Right. On steroids.
We should be approaching China as the geopolitical adversary they've proven to be. You know, and it's not time to roll out the red carpet for a country that's trying to destroy us. We need to do a lot of things. We need to ban, TikTok on government official accounts. We need legislation to prohibit China from buying farmland in the U.S. And we need to take steps to ensure that the products we purchase at the state level are manufactured in the United States of America and not in China, and not by Chinese companies. Let's put money where our mouth is on human rights. And we need to lead by example when it comes to China. J.B. Pritzker signed the law divesting from Russia because of the war in Ukraine. If we're condemning Russia, which we should, how can we not have the same policies in regard to the Chinese Communist Party? We say we're for human rights, we say that we're for national security, but not only are we blindly doing business with a company whose corporate papers pledge loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party, but we're handing over millions of taxpayer subsidies. And instead of getting a substantive response to legitimate questions, all we get from J.B. Pritzker is insults and hyperbole. Illinois deserves better. Manteno deserves better. And we need to put the brakes on this project until we get some transparency from the governor and this government on what's happening in our state with our tax dollars. And we're going to demand that. Illinois Freedom Caucus is demanding that. Our colleagues and our warriors over in Michigan are demanding that, guys. And I know, Manteno, are you demanding that? All right, hey. We're going to get this done because the power of the people. When Everett Dirksen always, he once said that when politicians feel the heat, they see the light. This is bringing the heat, guys, and they're going to see the light. So keep in this fight. This is going to be a long struggle. This isn't going to happen overnight. Nothing in this state does, unfortunately, this good, at least. But we're in it with you, so let's get this done, guys. So thank you very, very much.